we've talked a lot about digitalization at this conference, when everything is connected to the internet and everything has an API, everything is reachable. What does that world look like? What are the advantages and disadvantages in that world?
Well, are you referring to within the enterprise context or more general?
Well, in general, but if you have advice for the audience in an enterprise
context.
Well,
I mean, I think that's why we're sort of here. I like to think of this in a historical context. Having been a member of sort of the enterprise software industry for so many decades, I think the first decade I would define as roughly the following, and I'll use Oracle as the example. Sales teams that sell seats on a per-seat basis. Salesperson would typically, this was at the time in the 80s, have $1 million quota. You could pay the salesperson's salary, pay a little bit for engineers, and have 20% margin. That model, of course, has changed, but that's roughly the model, and it was largely, in my view, invented by Oracle. They would often sell seats that you didn't deploy, and then eventually, if you grew in a company, you would deploy them, and then you had a 5 or 10 year contract cycle with 15% service model. And I think everybody here is probably familiar with those. And that is largely the model that the incumbents, if you will, in enterprise are using today. The second phase was the arrival of cloud computing coexisting with this intranet model. Now, the term was coined 25 years ago. So we've sort of had this model of the protected intranet, VPNs, gateways, software inside the corporation. And there was this other thing going on, which is inspired by companies like Google and others, Amazon, and in particular, very successful AWS, Amazon Web Services. And I would argue that was sort of a fair fight, right, in the sense that there were a lot of benefits to the incumbents. The new guys had cheaper, better, faster in some way, but they were different. They weren't fully compatible. They weren't fully integrated. And then something happened. And I think that's why there's a sort of a third phase now. And this third phase was really driven by tablets. And I was actually surprised by this. I didn't call this. To me, would the phone replace the worker in the corporation? I figured they'll be using PCs and the phone. But in fact, it was the tablet revolution. And the employees now, it looks to us like the majority of mobile computing, the majority of enterprise computing is being done on mobile devices, in particular on tablets. And that broke the model. It actually just broke it. And so one way to understand this is, what does the new model look at? And I'm afraid to say it, and I'm sorry to say it so bluntly, it looks to me like you're going to have to dismantle much of that existing infrastructure and replace it by a model that actually works in this new tablet, phone, mobility model. And it's happening right before your eyes.